Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So we did a house prediction last month, the first house prediction of the 2026 midterm cycle. And I thought we would do an update because every month we're going to be inching a month closer and kind of see where the barometer really is for Republicans, if they'll be able to hold the House or if they'll not be able to hold the House. And definitely, I must warn people that a month in politics is more than a year. A year is more than a lifetime. And that we know things can drastically change very quickly to the point where we're not entirely sure where things are going to stand a few months from now, let alone a year and a half from now. But nevertheless, I thought we would still take this video and fill out the House map, predict the House, and see where things exactly stand as they stand today. Now, I must tell people that even if you want to believe every single poll that shows Donald Trump's approval rating dipping significantly, which I have my doubts, as we've seen this before. You might have some response bias sort of thing going on, just like we saw in summer of 2024. I'm not denying that the polls for Donald Trump have weakened a bit since he's taken office. It happens in nearly every single presidency that we've seen, and definitely there's going to be some market concerns with the economy because of the tariff rollout, etc. We don't exactly know the lay of the land next fall, but I will say that just because you see some of these polls in the mix where it's like, oh, Trump's approval rating is 41%, it was 51% last month, public opinion doesn't change on a whim like that. So maybe it's dipped a little bit, and maybe that can recover. We'll see. Congress definitely has to get to work and give people a reason to turn out, or the Republicans are going to lose. But I will tell people, despite that, even if you want to buy these polls, the Democrats are not going to have a massive blue wave because Republicans, just based on redistricting on both sides, it's polarized. You're not going to have a massive Republican majority. You're not going to have a massive Democrat majority either. In fact, Republicans, their floor is above 200 seats. Their floor is already above what they ended up with at the end of the 2018 midterms. The Democrats' floor is also, a little bit lower, but not ridiculously lower. So we're going to be, even if you do see some massive shift of 6 points to the left in each seat from, 2024, we're looking more at a reverse 2022 than like some blue wave 2018. Democrats are hoping, they're talking about seats that they have next to 0% chance at winning being on their target list, which is completely laughable, but that's besides the point. We're going to fill this out, at least in the competitive races, and kind of showcase where things are going here. And I think when it comes down to a state like Arizona, the Republicans have made massive strides in the registration data to the point where I don't believe they're going to end up losing these seats. In fact, Republicans are ancestrally stronger down ballot than they are at the top of the ticket in the 1st district and the 6th district, to the point where, I do believe that these are going to stay with the Republicans here. That much is true. So if you look at that already, they're going to probably, in my opinion, get those 2 seats, and that's going to get them to 210. Now, keep in mind, they need to win 8 out of the remaining 20 to get that majority. Doesn't mean they're going to do it, but a real wave, or a relative wave, would just look like Democrats winning a majority of the toss-up seats rather than, they're going to be going out there and flipping seats Donald Trump won by over 10 points. And even if they did that, it wouldn't be sustainable moving forward. But still, the control in the House is crucial because you want that trifecta. Democrats very clearly don't have much of a pathway for the Senate, but for the House, they don't have a pathway to a big majority, but they do have a very clear shot at a majority, and that is true. Now, things can change, but it's going to be close, and that gives Republicans a fighting chance. So California's 13th. I mean, it could come down to top of the ticket effects. I'm not saying that the Democrats are guaranteed to go out there and, take every toss-up seat, or they're going to be able to even hold seats that they won in 2024, because their coalition, it's a kind of a strange phenomenon where, you had a more college-educated base in some of these California seats in 2022. But come 2024, you have more of a working-class turnout among ancestrally Democrat voters, mainly Hispanic voters, who split for Donald Trump, and they also split against the Republican incumbent John Duarte for Adam Gray, which is kind of a bit strange, but that's the way it goes. Still, I think, this is probably a seat Democrats might have a slight edge in. It does come down to turnout dynamics. Who runs on the Republican side definitely can play a role there as well. So on top of that, you have California's 45th district. You have Derek Tran. And it's kind of a similar phenomenon here, where you have Michelle Steele, who ran in 2022 and won because she had first of all, weak opposition, but also a strong support base among ancestrally Republican voters and the more college-educated Korean population, you name it. But Derek Tran, he was able to go out there and win over some, Vietnamese Trump voters. Definitely his ancestry helped connect him to those communities there. It's going to be interesting. I'd say Democrats will start off as the favorites in California's 45th, though, so we'll put that in their column. Now, Colorado's 8th district, Gabe Evans, he ran behind Trump a little bit, and he was a very strong candidate. This could come down to top of the ticket effects. If the Democrat gubernatorial candidate is the weaker candidate that typically underperforms in statewide office, he'll win. He'll win possibly by double digits, but that might not be good enough to knock off Gabe Evans. But still, this is going to be a top target for Democrats. And if they're able to, it really does come down to the state of the economy. But if it's a little bit weak and they're able to capitalize on it, could they flip Colorado's 8th? It's entirely possible. Now, Iowa's 1st district, Marionette Miller Meeks, she's a very weak candidate. You could see how much she underruns Donald Trump by 8.3%. That is brutal, but she almost lost her primary. And this might be wishful thinking in my part, but I think that she's going to lose her primary to a stronger candidate. Either that, or she may be forced to retire and not run for re-election. And if that happens, that seat will probably be more likely to stay in the Republican column. But we'll see. Definitely top of the ticket effects could be questionable in Iowa the other way, because you will have a stronger Democrat candidate for governor. I don't think he's going to win, but you're not going to have this 13-point win that you saw Trump have, or the 17-point win that Reynolds had in 2022. You could see a middle single digits win. That a couple points here and there could definitely make a big impact. But I think that if Marionette Miller Meeks is primaried out, that Republicans will, in my opinion, hold that seat. Now, Maine's 2nd district, this again comes down to, does Jared Golden run for re-election or not? Because if he does, I think he's probably going to win. If he runs for governor, which a lot of people are expecting him to do, then I think that this seat, it's going to be close, but I think Republicans are going to have a very clear shot to flip it, in my opinion. Now, Michigan 7th, you have Tom Barrett. This was a seat where he did outrun Donald Trump by a couple of points, mainly in Livingston County. And, it really does come down to numerous factors. The governor's race in Michigan, I think, is very flippable. I think Republicans, you could make the case they start off as the favorite, but still, John James will be in a three-way race. If he gets like 46%, that's not that much better than somebody like Tudor Dixon. In terms of like how you would have these effects down ballot. But I think, this is going to be a seat Democrats are going to target. I think they very possibly could win it. I think that the 7th district, it's very close, and you really will need strong working class turnout. We haven't seen that from Republicans in the midterms at this stage in the game, but I think you could see it strong enough in the 10th district, especially with some James coattails, to the point where they will be able to hold on to the 10th district, especially if Candace Miller runs for it. I don't know if she will or not. We'll see. Now we can move on to North Carolina's 1st district, Don Davis. This is going to be a crucial race here. It is a possible flip for Republicans because of the fact that you probably will see lower black turnout because it's a midterm year, and the higher propensity electorate in this specific district is more Republican friendly, and the district itself has been zooming to the right as it stands. It voted for Donald Trump by 3 points. I believe it narrowly voted for Biden in 2020. Don Davis, he was able to outperform. It's going to be close. I think you might say the national environment could give him just a slight edge, but it is, in my opinion, going to be a close race. Then we have the 2nd district in Nebraska. Don Bacon, who knows what's going to happen there? If Bacon runs for re-election, I think you can make the case that Bacon possibly could win the district. He's kind of an anti-Trump Republican, but he's going to struggle in the primary as well. So that's definitely going to be one that the Democrats are going to focus on targeting. He is a massive, resilient overperformer in the same context. So we'll really just have to wait and see. I think this one is close. Maybe you say if Bacon's running for re-election, maybe he's the favorite. If not, I think the Democrats are going to flip it by a few points. Then you go down to New Jersey, Tom Keene. It's a more ancestrally Republican district. That could help if you don't have Trump on the ballot. If anything, in this election here, he won by 5 points. Trump flipped back the district, mainly on the back of working class turnout in the district that moved to the right. I think that Keene is going to be the favorite in the 7th district. I don't think he's guaranteed to win, but I think he'll start off as the favorite there. Then you go to New Mexico 2nd district, and this is a Trump district that's more ancestrally Democrat. It's still possibly going to be competitive. Trump flipped the district back because of Hispanic support. Those Trump Hispanics are going to be less likely to show up in a midterm, but still it's going to be close depending on who the Republicans run. They probably need to start propping up a candidate other than Yvette Herrell for the district, in my opinion, moving forward. But I think that it could remain close, could be a 2028 flip back. But as of right now, I think that it'll stay in the Democrat hands. Then you go to New York's 4th. These coattails at the top of the ticket down ballot, they're going to be interesting to watch. But I think that this district, even if you have a toss-up at the governorship level, it's going to be a narrow Democrat victory, possibly even lean Democrat. And then the 17th district, Mike Lawler, his district, this one, it depends on who runs for it. If you can find a strong successor, I think lean Republican is a little bit generous. In my opinion, I think you could make the case it stays Republican if you can find a worthy successor that's a good fit for the district. And Lawler performs well in the district just because of the top of the ticket effects. But I think lean red, I think tilt red is probably more accurate. And then you have these 2 seats in Ohio, which I'm not going to fill out because you could have this redistricting in Ohio. And I do believe that it's very possible that you could see one of these flip Republican, but we just don't know what's going to happen, and that very well could dictate the House. So Ohio needs to look into that as we speak, especially because we know what's going to happen in Wisconsin. They're going to be doing the opposite. So then we go over to the state of Pennsylvania, where you have Ryan McKenzie, the 7th district. You have Susan Wild. She's not running for her old seat. I think you could make the case that one stays in the Republican column. Pennsylvania's 10th, Scott Perry. This one's a little bit tougher. So I love Scott Perry. I hope he wins. I don't know who's exactly going to run against him, if it's going to be Stelson again. But you look at the fact that he did underperform Donald Trump this time around by around 4 percentage points, and you're going to have a stronger Democrat top of the ticket with Shapiro. I think that Stacey Garrity goes for it. I think she gives him a run for her money, but this district, this one's going to go down the wire. It could be very, very close. And the Democrats, if anything, are going to target this district heavily and possibly could knock off Perry, which would be brutal in my opinion. But, these things typically happen. But I will say the Texas 28th district, Henry Cuellar, he outperformed Donald Trump in this district, or he outran the top of the ticket, I guess you would say, for the Democrat side, Kamala Harris, by a net 12, 13 points. But the guy's under investigation, and he possibly could be in jail by then, and Republicans are running a stronger candidate against him this time around, Mayra Flores, who almost knocked off Vicente Gonzalez multiple times. I think that could be a district, especially given the fact that it's Texas, given trends, given what's going on there. You could see this one flip back if Cuellar does indeed, continue to face these charges, go to jail. The 34th district, however, Vicente Gonzalez, more ancestrally, down ballot Democrat. Maybe you could say this one stays in his column and then 2028 it will flip when you have higher turnout again, given the trends that we see. The 2nd district in Virginia, Jen Kiggins, I think you could make the case that, yeah, Kiggins is somebody who probably is going to hold on. She is well connected. She'll be well funded, relatively establishmentarian, but it is a relatively establishmentarian area where a type of Republican like her can do well. And then Washington's 3rd, Marie Perez, MGP. It's going to be interesting. She could face a stronger candidate this time. It is a Trump +3 district, but I mean, we've seen her vote for the SAVE Act and is showing she's rhetorically trying to appear a lot more moderate than she really is, because she's not at all. But that could work in this environment for her to hold on. And then Derek Van Orden, I think he just gets drawn out. But even so, I think you could make the case he might not win, just because of the fact that, yeah, he's typically an underperformer. Trump wins the district by 7 to 8 points. He can't even win by 3 against a weak candidate. That is not exactly a very big point of strength for him. A lot of people kind of see him as this out-of-touch blowhard type of figure. And if you're going to be redrawing the map, I think he's the one that's going to get drawn out. So when you look at this, it's on the knife's edge, guys. It really is. And I think you could make the case that there's going to be a few districts you can't really predict. 218 to 215. There's 2 districts in Ohio that could determine it. Obviously, if Republicans are at 218, but again, you don't know what's going to happen. I still think the 2nd district, we don't know what's going to go on there. Pennsylvania's 10th, that's going to be super close. There's going to be a lot of things and a lot of factors at play that it's just too early to tell. Same thing goes for Maine. So either way, I think that the prediction right now isn't even going to be 218 to 217 or 219 to 216. I think that it's 216 to 215. Republicans have the advantage, but what they need to do to win the House is, make sure that Jared Golden runs for governor, which I guess is his personal decision, but you have to have Bacon run for re-election. Not a fan of him, but to hold the House, that might be necessary. And then in Ohio, you're going to have to redistrict. Make sure you can at least put yourself in a position to win one of those districts, because when you do that, you're going to be able to go out there and win the House. I'm not going to listen to these narratives about, it's going to be this massive blue wave, because there's no math for it. I mean, there's not. These special election overperformances never translate directly to a midterm year. We heard all about it before 2024, and Democrats were completely blindsided because they believed in these other metrics, except, basic registration data, turnout. And turnout's going to matter and be a big important piece to the puzzle for Republicans if they want to go out there and hold the House. But as things stand right now, I think 216 to 215, that is more than fair to say it's going to come down to these seats. And it might be a cop-out prediction for some, but it's going to be down the wire, folks. And that's what matters. And that's why people need to get out and vote, even if it's not a presidential year. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.